All right, I think we're live there. Let's hop into it. See what happens tonight. So, we are hopping into the Premier League predictions for the end of the season. What we have here is the table that I think is how it is going to end at the end of this season. I have obviously predicted City to be on top at the end of the season. Arsenal finished second, Chelsea to finish third, and then obviously after that, Aston Villa, Manchester United, Brentford, Liverpool, and Everton to round out the top eight this season, which again could be quite remarkable depending on how this season actually goes for the most part. Because if we're thinking about it, there could be a big upset if this does happen this year. Because obviously, again, we're talking about how Arsenal have been doing quite well this season, but looking at what's been going on in the last handful of games now, I do think again, City keep winning match after match after match. Yes, it was a little bit sluggish for them today in the FA Cup, but that still doesn't matter because in the FA Cup, they still got the win. They're moving on to the next round. And yes, I understand there was an own goal, and it wasn't until Mark Gahey scored that late goal, but still, it is a big talking point for them to go on and continue to win trophies this season, which most likely they will be doing at some point. So again, I do think again City will be probably overtaking Arsenal at the end of the season. Arsenal possibly could still be lifting at least one or two trophies by the end of the season. Obviously, they have to play City in the League Cup final, depending how that goes for the most part, because they could beat them. But I still think Manchester City is probably going to beat them in the League Cup as well. So not only will Manchester City go over them in the League Cup, but they will also then go over them in the Premier League as well. So we'll see what happens. Chelsea going to beat City. I would love for Chelsea to beat City, but I don't see how Chelsea at all could beat City this year. We couldn't even beat Arsenal. We couldn't really beat any of the top teams. We couldn't even beat Manchester United. And therefore, again, I don't think we're going to beat City anytime soon. I think City right now are just going to be playing so well that they're most likely, again, going to absolutely just annihilate us when we have to play up to them. But I do think, again, Chelsea finishing in third, I think is where we should be reaching for as of right now for the rest of the season. Granted, the way the season has gone, I was hoping at the beginning of the season we would have been winning and lifting the trophy this year. Oh, thank you for the gifts, by the way. But like I said, we've had some injuries. Levy Colwell was a massive injury blow that we had. Then we lost the manager, but I do want to say I think Liam Rossinier has done such a phenomenal job that I think he actually could be the guy that does take us next season into lifting the trophy, because how we've been playing with him right now, it's just we go out and score goals ridiculously. The more direct we are, the better we are, because under Liam Rossinier, or under Enzo Maresca, we were very rigid. We didn't attack as much, and like I said, with Liam Rossinier, we're definitely going towards the goal. We have more options inside the box, more opportunities, and we're scoring more and more goals for the most part. Certainly only got 2 games win streak in the league. Yeah, I mean, they only have the 2 games in the league, but the fact is that they've been still winning games, and I think this is the turning point. There's been times where, again, City have struggled and all of a sudden turn it on, and the fact that they had a pretty poor December/January, and yet they're only 4 points off of Arsenal, just shows you that they can have a second/third year where they can do quite well for the most part. Enzo a boss. I do think, again, Enzo did quite well for Chelsea. Obviously, he won 2 trophies with his time here, but like I said, looking at what Liam Rossinier can do, I think Liam Rossinier can now take this team even further, which will be quite well for any Chelsea fan, because, like I said, watching him in those last couple of matches, this is Enzo Maresca as the manager, we just were very stagnant. We couldn't do anything. We couldn't score goals. We couldn't win matches. We dropped so many crucial points in that December-January timeframe, because had we win some of those games, I do think Chelsea could be even closer up into that title race. But like I said, it just wasn't happening at that point with Enzo Maresca. And like I said, now that we have Liam Rossinier, I do think he's giving more freedom to some of the players. And I do think, again, Estevao has definitely been just thriving under this. Obviously, João Pedro has been playing so much better. I think all our attacking players have been playing so much better. And like I said, because of that, I think that takes pressure off our defense because we are scoring more goals. 1 game slip, it's over for Arsenal. Exactly. It doesn't take much for Arsenal really to slip up here. And obviously, they still have to play City. And that big match between those two teams in the league itself is going to be crucial for both teams. But I just think, again, looking at what both teams have to offer, I think Arsenal's depth has been good this season, but lately it hasn't been doing anything for them. We saw that in the last handful of matches. Yes, they still have scored goals, but like it said, you want to have Saka fully fit. Noni Madueke actually scored. He had a header, which I think was the second goal in the league itself. But the fact is that, again, he's steps down from Saka. Yes, he can be semi-decent, but there are times where he switches off, and he's just not that player that Arsenal need to go forward. I would say Esse has been struggling for Arsenal as well. Odegaard came on in this last match and looked a lot better, which again, he's been dealing with injuries too, so it is kind of questionable on what's going to happen with the depth. And we'll say City, obviously, same thing. With some of the depth that they've had in their defensive back line. They've had some injuries, but I think they actually are starting to stabilize for the most part with their back line, so it'll be kind of interesting to see what happens. You think United will drop off or Chelsea go on a run? I think Chelsea will go more on a run as of lately. I just think Chelsea, again, are such a good team, and not that United aren't going to go on a run as well, but I think there's going to be a few times where they're just going to drop some points here and there. I think, again, Michael Carrick has done quite well as the manager, but I still think there are a few issues. They've had some injuries as well, and I do think this actually draw, which it shouldn't affect them, because having 4 wins out of 5 with a draw is, again, a good run of games, but I think that is going to have some type of mentality, because even though United Strand, I feel bad for the man because he's gotten a lot of strays for what he's been doing, but still, I think that is still played into the effect of how United have been playing, and I have to feel like there's some type of mentality shift, which is kind of ridiculous when you think about it. But anyways, yeah, I think, again, United will probably drop a few more points. They have some big games coming up too, so we'll see what happens. Arsenal's going to Bottle League. Again, I've been thinking about it and looking over it, and I do think Arsenal, this, again, it just seems like this is going to be another season where they start dropping points at some point. The fact that they went from 9 to 6 to 5 to 4 or something along those lines so quickly, again, just shows you that I think they're slowly losing their edge, and they've looked pretty fatigued, not going to lie. Their last match that they just played, they, again, just over the entire 90 match, I think Brentford looked so much better throughout that entire match. They were just running rapid over Arsenal, and the only players that looked decent, or at least didn't look super fatigued, was Declan Rice, who, again, made some critical blocks or tackles in that match, and on top of that, I would say Gabriel obviously looked pretty good, but their attacking third just did not look good. They had 2 shots in the entire match, and that, again, just speaks volume for what they've been doing lately and how they've been struggling. I think Gyökeres has been, I would say, pretty weak as of lately. And not that he was great at the beginning of the season, but I think he's even tipping down as well. Kai Havertz, that injury to them, I think is also big, because I think Kai Havertz was going to be the guy that was actually going to unlock Gyökeres, but also be just the guy that really, you stick into that attacking third that really just changes it, and obviously plays a lot of key passes, scores some goals and everything. Man U not top 4. Now, I think Manchester United finish outside the top 4 this season, which, when you think about it, if Manchester United finished right here, it's still a great season for them, the way things have gone for them. If you think about from start to finish, how last year they ended, they lost Europa, they lost their manager, and you're telling me that they can finish right here, just behind Aston Villa, which, again, I think Aston Villa is still going to be doing quite well, but they'll probably drop a few points here and there. But to finish 5th, that gets them in Champions League. So, again, it's not like that's a bad spot to finish in. They finish in 5th, they get Champions League. I think that can make a huge difference for them next season, because if they do that, they can get some more signings. They'll probably offload a few players as well. But the fact is, United back in the Champions League just speaks volume for how big of a club they actually are. And not that, again, they have their issues. I'm not going to lie. They have massive issues, but they still need to figure that out. But if, again, you have Champions League, you can definitely bring in more players. And obviously, United have the capability of bringing in big-name players. It's Manchester United. They have the caliber of players already, but they can still build around some of those guys. Carrick really turned the team around. Yes, Carrick really has turned the team around. I will say part of that reason is just because he's let them play. He's given them freedom. He's not making it super rigid, where Ruben Amorim was, again, he had his tactics, which, again, you could argue that a manager that sticks with his tactics can work out, but a lot of times you will see it does not work out, because any type of manager that knows what, again, you're going to be doing for the most part tactic-wise, it's very easy to set up against. You know exactly what you need to do in certain positions on the pitch, and I think that was part of the issue. And the thing, too, is that some of the players he was selecting, like, I still don't understand why Kobe Manu was not starting for him. He's been electric in the midfield since starting with Michael Carrick. Again, it seemed pretty obvious that he should have been starting in that midfield with Casemiro, with Bruno Fernandes, yet for some reason he wasn't. And then Michael Carrick also moved Dorgu up into like the left wing position. So he's made some big critical changes, but a lot of them seem pretty obvious. Like he should have been making those changes, which I'm not sure what Ruben didn't want to do. There was some obviously backlash with Manu, and there was a possibility that Manu was actually going to leave, which I think would have been a big issue because I think, again, this guy can still be very good for Manchester United for seasons to come yet for them. United going to the Championship League next year? Yeah, again, I think United will make the Champions League next year. And I think, again, Brentford, I think, is a big talking point, too. I think they're going to have Europa next year, which I think Liverpool, yes, they have been playing decent, but still, I think just the team right now hasn't been playing as well as they can be playing. I think Arne Slot really has been dropping the ball as of lately as a manager. Granted, I don't think the players are playing as well for him because I think they also realize this is his last season, which is still quite shocking because you think about if you win the Premier League your first season, you would think the next season is going to go quite well, but really things have gone off the rails for him for the most part. I didn't see what Stephen A. said, but yeah, I know Stephen's an Arsenal fan. Will Dorgu be back for the next match? I think Dorgu will be. I think he's out for at least another week or two. I could be mistaken. Maybe he is back, though, because if he is back, that could be a big help for them because he was very good on that left side. Him and Ahmad on the right side was very, very difficult to defend against. I would say Šeško has been playing better, too, so that ridiculous goal he did score in the West Ham game, I will say, again, he has been stepping up a little bit, but otherwise, I think, like I said, they need both those guys out on the wing to, again, be more critical when they're attacking and attacking third. Arsenal going to smack Spurs up next Sunday. Yeah, I think, again, I don't think Arsenal are going to drop points to Spurs. I think for sure that Spurs and Tottenham are going to lose, and they could be in relegation battle. I do think, again, that is still in the possibility where they could drop into that relegation zone. And thank you for the follows, by the way. Tottenham really have been struggling this season, and I don't see how that gets any better with the new manager that came in, Tordu, if I'm not mistaken, if I saw the news right. He has not gotten many points. I think he was averaging like 1.5 or 1. Maybe it's 1.3 for Juventus when he was there managing. And the fact that you're managing one of the biggest clubs in Italy in Serie A and you were only averaging less than 2 points, I don't know how you come into Tottenham now and somehow turn this around for the most part. Romero out for a couple more games. Yeah, right, Stephen. Yeah, he's also out for a couple more games. So, like I said, their back line has pretty much been depleted. I don't think Mickey can do as much without Romero. I'm not sure if they're going to use Gray or if Paulinho is going to be continue to be using that back line, which he's a good player, but he's not your perfect defensive player that you want. You want him as your CDM. He's not as quick as Romero. He's not the guy that's going to win all the aerial duels. So, therefore, again, I think Arsenal just run rampant on them. I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal scored 3 or 4 goals on Tottenham, and I don't think Tottenham are going to score a goal. And if they do, it's probably going to be a very fortunate, lucky goal, maybe a penalty, or again, just off a random chance off a corner. But otherwise, I think, again, Arsenal are just going to absolutely dominate that game when that comes around next week. But Arsenal play Wolves first, do they not? I think so. Before the Spurs play Arsenal, I think, yeah, Arsenal has a game before that, which, again, Arsenal are going to beat Wolves too. I'm not saying they're not going to win that game. I think the challenging point comes to when Arsenal have to play Manchester City. That's where it will change quite a bit, though. Man U's success depends on transfers this summer. They don't have much like that with Arsenal and Man City. Yeah, we'll be curious to see what United do for transfers this upcoming summer because I do think, again, they have to look at the goalkeeper situation. I think they still need to maybe find someone different. Not that, again, they've obviously stepped up with Onana because Onana was absolutely terrible. So they made the right decision getting rid of him or letting him go on loan. But I still think they need to look at another goalkeeper if possible. But then I think even if you're looking at their back line, I still think they have to kind of figure that out a little bit. And I'm not sure with the guys that they have right now. Yes, Harry Maguire, they have Dalot, they have Euro, they have Martinez, they have a bunch of guys there, but I'm not sure if there's a missing piece to that puzzle, or like I said, maybe if they bring a new manager in that can utilize those players, De Ligt as well. So they have good players, but I think they still need to bring someone in to help them out. And Luke Shaw is getting up there as well, so that left side is a little bit weaker for the most part. You think Hotspurs get relegated? Yes, I think Spurs do get relegated this season. Pedro Delap working wonders. Yeah, I think Pedro Neto, that was a curious thing. I did make a video on Pedro Neto. I'm kind of curious to see. He did play well in that 10 role, and it is kind of interesting because if Pedro Neto plays in the 10 more often, Does that mean that we can use Cole Palmer out on the right side, or we can actually use him in different positions? Because Pedro Neto, like I said, looked really good. And I understand it was against Hull City. It's an FA Cup match. It's against the championship side. But still, he was popping up everywhere, receiving the ball, and just doing little quick 1-2 touches. And I will say Andros Santos has been playing very, very well for Chelsea as well. I think that's a guy that hasn't been getting enough credit for Chelsea. Him and Caicedo I'm not sure why I'm repeating myself, have absolutely just dominate that midfield area, and because of that, I think that allows our attacking third to do so much more, and which is why I think Pedro Neto looks so good. But like I said, we were playing the ball to him. He probably could have had another goal or two, if I'm not mistaken. Delop obviously should have scored a goal. I mean, it does happen that he thought it went in. Probably then should have laid off to Esteval, but still, we won 4-0, so I'm not going to be too upset. But overall, I think Pedro Neto looked really, really good in that match. Does it ever reach that chat? I'm not too sure. I must have missed. Sorry if you guys. If you want to put the comments back in there. But anyways, I do think, like I said, Pedro Neto, I think if he can play that 10 position, he does help out then for Cole Palmer, because Cole Palmer, it seems like we are going to be rotating him quite a bit as Chelsea because he's still dealing with the injury. And I think depending on who we're playing, it could be better to use Pedro Neto than Enzo Fernandez in that 10 position, because we have used Enzo in the 10. Not that he can't play that position, but he also looked pretty good in that left wing, Enzo, for the most part. So it would be kind of curious if we went somehow with Santos, Caicedo, Pedro Neto as the 10, Cole Palmer on the right side, and then possibly Enzo on the left side. And yes, I understand that's not using Esteval, but still, I would say it would be interesting to see how all three of those players could utilize in the attacking third for the most part, because I do think having Enzo, Caicedo, and Santos in that midfield, we don't have to worry about Cole Palmer dropping back and defending as much. Those guys can do quite well. Even push up Reece James into helping that midfield, or Cucurella can also push up. So therefore, again, it would make kind of sense. Cole's not playing well yet. I mean, I'm not sure what Cole Palmer can do differently if he's not playing well. He scored, a hat-trick the last Premier League game. Also picked up an assist. I mean, he's done quite well with the games he's been playing. Granted, he could be playing better. I will give you that. But still, he's done well. And yes, I understand. He should have finished that chance to win that game. We shouldn't have drew to Leeds. It shouldn't have been 2-2. Cole Palmer should have hit that goal with 3 inches out from the goal, but still, minus that, he's still been playing well. But yeah. How long you been live? Steven, I just started live, what time is it right now? Maybe 20 minutes ago? We haven't been live too long. I was planning on doing it earlier, but I was making some stuff here for the most part. Do you agree with the take, Bernal over Caicedo? I'm not sure who that is, so I can't say it, but Caicedo is definitely better than whoever you're going to put there. Caicedo, in my opinion, is the best CDM right now in the entire world. You throw him against any other midfielder, I'm picking Caicedo. There may be one other midfielder I would pick over him, but otherwise Caicedo is the guy I would pick every single time to have in my midfield. He just does so much in the defensive rate, but also can play so many balls perfectly forward. You don't see him picking up a lot of assists because usually his pass he plays to a player is the second pass or the pass before the assist. So again, watching Caicedo, just watch how many balls he plays that breaks the line with his long passes. He's such a good player. Prime Mbappe or Gareth Bale, I'm going to go with Gareth Bale all day long. Gareth Bale is just an absolute treasure. I don't think the guy gets enough credit for what he had done at Real Madrid, and partly because he was playing with, again, Ronaldo for the most part. But Bale, so many times, won so many games for them and had clearly multiple game-winning goals. You think about the Champions League, you think about the Copa del Rey, you think about just some of the other games that he just absolutely just destroyed defenders on that left side. And obviously everyone knows the goal he scored against Barcelona, literally going outside the pitch, coming back in and scoring that. Again, Gareth Bale, just for me, I like him more. Now, granted, had Gareth Bale played for, say, a team like Spain or another large national team, I think he also would have won probably a World Cup or something else. But the man played for Wales. You can't discredit him for his international duties because obviously Wales isn't going to win anything for the most part. They have some good players, but one player can't just carry an entire team through the Euros, through a World Cup or anything like that. But despite that, he's won so many other trophies in his time. It's a shame that, again, golf became more important for him because I think he could have won so many more trophies, but it is what it is. Bruno Fernandes, yeah, I think Bruno Fernandes has been a good player this season. That's what you're asking. I think he's been probably if I had to take a guess, I would say Bruno Fernandes has probably been the top 3 players this season in the Premier League, for my opinion. I don't like the guy as much, but I still have to give him credit for how good of a player he is. I do think, again, he is the guy that really has been making sure United have been staying where they have been at, because if it wasn't for Bruno Fernandes, they clearly wouldn't be anywhere near this position. They would definitely be a lot lower, probably a mid-table team in the last handful of years. Has to be Mbappe? No, it's got to be Gareth Bale. Go, if you haven't watched Gareth Bale in his entire career, you should go back and watch him. The goals the man scored, just what he could do with the ball, just so much better. Now again, Mbappe is still a great player, but it's hard to compare the 2 players. Manchester United low-key surprised me. Yeah, United hasn't been surprised me for the most part. Obviously, the surprise came from the 4 games that they won in a row. Again, being over Arsenal, being over Fulham, being over Manchester City. It's still kind of remarkable to think that, but I could still see them now, their next handful of matches, start losing a few matches. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, they play Everton that next match. I think, again, David Moyes has been pretty difficult for the side to beat for Everton. I think, again, they do quite well for the most part. And I think that is at Everton, if I'm not mistaken. Or are they playing at Old Trafford? I can't see as of right now where they're playing at. But if that is an away game for United, that's going to be very difficult, because Goodison Park's always difficult. Actually, yeah, Goodison Park. Is that what it's called now? Or did they change the name? I'm not too sure. Let me know in the chat, actually. Is it still called Goodison Park, or is there a new name for the new stadium? But anyways, Everton, yeah, will be a definitely a hard match for them, and they could easily drop points for. It's Hill Dickinson. Oh, that's right. Yeah, so it did. That's how I'm so used to calling it Goodison Park. It's been way too long that my brain still goes to that name. But when I say it, I'm like, that doesn't sound right now. But yeah, that's right, because they built a new stadium, which again is a pretty good stadium. Not that I've been there, but it definitely is a nice place. But that being said, looking at the rest of the fixtures for United, though, so like I said, they play Everton, then they play Crystal Palace. They should beat Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace is in a difficult situation right now. But then Newcastle, that's going to be a hard game. Then Aston Villa, also hard match. Bournemouth, they will lose that match. And Leeds United, I think they're going to lose that match too. So their next handful of matches, I only see them winning maybe 2 matches and maybe a draw. So they'll probably pick up 7 points of their next 6 matches for the most part. So again, like I said, I can see them start slowly dropping down the table, but not enough to drop out of the top 5, would be my opinion. Arsenal will win the league. No, I think, again, Manchester City will probably be winning the league this season. I just, like, again, looking at it for the most part, I just can't see how Arsenal hold on to what they've been doing. They've been struggling for the most part. And like I said, I think this is just, again, what we've been seeing time and time again. They're probably going to drop a few more points. And once that starts happening, the whole momentum is going to shift for Arsenal. The mentality, the players themselves, they're really going to struggle. Now, granted, they could still do well in all the other cup competitions. But like I said, I think the Premier League, because that's the other thing you got to think about too. If they have a long run in the FA Cup, in the Champions League, that's going to be a lot more matches to fit into this entire equation. So that's what we're going to see. Liverpool position shows you're just yapping. I mean, not really. I mean, if you think about what Liverpool have been doing as of lately, I don't think, again, they're doing that well in the Premier League. Again, it's one of those things where you're thinking about the rest of the teams above them. Brentford, I think, have been playing a lot better than them. I could see Brentford. Brentford almost did leapfrog them, actually, over the weekend. Had they have won their match, they would have gone over Liverpool. So, like, again, it's not that shocking. All that really did switching right here is these 2 teams. So the fact that you think that that's yapping, really, Liverpool have not been playing that good this season. And I think, again, Mohamed Salah has been struggling. Their next match is against, Nottingham Forest? Is that right? They play Nottingham Forest, which they'll win that game. West Ham, that will be a difficult game for them. I think West Ham have been playing very, very well. Nuno has definitely got them playing better. I could see West Ham beating Liverpool, actually, in that game. Then they play Wolves, which they should win. Tottenham, they should win, but Brighton's going to be difficult. Fulham's going to be difficult. They also play Everton. That's always a difficult game. Anytime Liverpool and Everton play, though, I feel like it always ends up in a draw for the most part. So more likely than not, that's at least a point. Crystal Palace, then they play United, Chelsea, Aston Villa, Brentford. So really, it comes down to Liverpool's last 4 or 5 games for the most part in the end of the season, because, like I said, they could literally go in the last 4 matches and drop so many points. They could lose to United. I think Chelsea will beat them. Aston Villa, I think, will beat them. Brentford can beat them. So in their last 4 matches, they may not pick up any points. And like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where they sit for the most part. But yeah, we're Chelsea fans. In case you're wondering, yeah, so Chelsea fans. But yeah, you think Chelsea can win the Champions League? I would love to see the Chelsea win Champions League. They have done before with a weaker team, I would say. I think this year it just seems like it would be way too out of the realm. But again, the 2012 run that they had, no one was talking about them winning it, and then obviously when they won it in 2021, no one thought we were going to win either. So this might be the year that they can actually do it. Chelsea won't beat Liverpool. Didn't they already beat Liverpool this year, if I'm not mistaken? I could be wrong on that, but I thought we beat Liverpool already once this year. Zero ball knowledge. Thank you, Johnny B. Thank you very much. Clueless analysis. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Weaker team. Their wingers are horrendous. Are we talking about Chelsea's or are we talking about Liverpool's? Wingers, because Chelsea's wingers I think are pretty good for the most part. We're looking at Esteval, comparing him to all the other players. But anyways, because if you're thinking about really for Liverpool, they're also missing I can't say his name right now, Szoboszlai in their next match, which I think is also going to hinder them for the most part. So again, I could see them losing their next match as well. So again, it's one of those things when you're thinking about Liverpool's next handful of matches, it really could go in any direction for them, and I wouldn't be surprised. Again, Arne Slot's been struggling with the locker room with some of these players. I don't think Virgil van Dijk's been playing as good as he has been. Konate's pretty much checked out. Their left side, Robertson, I guess, has been playing semi-decent. Kirkez has been back and forth with injuries too. But your right side, Conor Bradley's out for the rest of the season. Frimpong's out for the rest of the season, or probably going to be out for the rest of the season. Like I said, Szoboszlai is now out for the next game. So you're going to have to use a youth player in that right side because I don't think Joe Gomez is fully fit. And even if Joe Gomez is fit, he's probably not going to play a full 90. The man is always out for the most part. Arsenal don't have it that easy either. Yeah, I mean, Arsenal definitely don't have it easier, so we'll see how it plays out. United will finish at third on the table. We'll see, Mr. Laugh. I mean, granted, I think all these teams are here between Chelsea, Villa, and United. That's probably going to be like 2 points difference between those three teams. I think they're all going to be pretty good. Kirkes hasn't been injured, buddy. He hasn't been playing as much, has he, though? I think Kirkes has been, subbed out like every couple of matches. He is not playing full 90s, is he? Because I could have sworn he's been playing like 60, 70 minutes for the most part, which I guess is not injured. You're right. He's not injured, but he's still not playing. Zosai played today. Yeah, he played today, but he's not. He had a red card in the league itself, so he's going to be out for the next match. It's only one game match banned for the most part, just because it was a dog show. So he picked up a second yellow card, so it's not like a violent conduct or anything. So it's only one game match suspension. But that being said, and I don't think Szoboszlai's going to pick up another red card for the rest of the season. But if he were to pick up another red card, that one then would also tack on to the next red card, kind of like Romero for Tottenham. That's why Romero's going to be out for 4 matches. So again, it all depends on when you pick up those cards. Where's Chelsea finishing? Chelsea are going to be finishing third, in my opinion. I think, like I said, we've just been doing so well this season now with our new manager, with Liam Rossinier. I think, like I said, we've only lost 2 matches, and the 2 matches we lost were literally in the League Cup. We lost, I know we drew to Leeds in our last match, which again, we should have won, but we've only lost to Arsenal in the League Cup in the first and second leg. Otherwise, Liam Rossinier has been definitely doing quite well with this side. That I don't think, like I said, we're going to drop too many more points in the league itself. We play Burnley on Saturday. Then we play Arsenal, which again, I feel like we just keep playing Arsenal so many times. I think we're going to lose to Arsenal. I wouldn't be surprised, but who knows? Maybe the third time's a charm that we actually knock some points off Arsenal. I'd be happy to see that for the most part. Rossinier hasn't played any hard games yet, bar Napoli. I mean, yes and no for the most part. I would say we've definitely played hard matches for the most part. West Ham was definitely in form. Now, you could argue that, yes, West Ham are in relegation, but still, West Ham has still been playing good the last month and a half, and then we just played them. We also played Brentford. Brentford's been playing very well. They're in the top 8, so again, I would say they're pretty good. Fulham, we did lose to them, but like I said, that was with Enzo Maresca. So again, it's hard to say. We'll see what happens when we play some harder teams, I guess. But Champions League, I think when that comes around, you'll see how good Chelsea actually have been playing under Liam Rossinier for the most part. Because even with Strasbourg as the manager, he was doing quite well. Strasbourg was doing decent in the table, and they have been doing all right since he's left. And Johnny B, you have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, I'm not too sure. What's up, Camden, by the way? City is not winning the league. I think City are winning the league once again. I think, like we mentioned in our last video, I think City, for the most part, are picking up steam, and because I'm pretty sure it's Pep's last season. I don't think he's fully out said that this is his last season, but it seems like some of the conference presses that he's had and just the way he's been talking, it seems like it's going to be the end of his career at City at the end of this year. And I got to assume the players are going to do quite well for the most part, that they're going to play as well as they can, and therefore, again, try to win at least one trophy, if not multiple trophies. Like, I wouldn't see if they don't win a double for the most part, and that's, yeah, including the League Cup itself. I don't know if they'll do it with the FA Cup, but they could possibly do a domestic treble. Obviously, Arsenal could do the treble as well if they really wanted to, but we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, big ups to Brentford. I think, again, Brentford deserve a lot of credit for how well they've been playing. And actually, that was the one thing I did want to check out with Thiago, where he's sitting now in the goal scoring for the season, because I know obviously Haaland's in first right now. Top goal scorer in Premier League. I just want to see where we're sitting at right now. Because Thiago has what? Oh, come on. What's up with all the pop-ups? So many pop-ups. He has 17 now. Okay. So 17, and then I believe Haaland has, what, 21? I'm getting way too many pop-ups that I don't want to see all these here. He has 22. Oh, yeah. So 17, 22, and then Semenyo at 13. It's kind of ridiculous how big of a gap that is between the top three for the most part. But I do think, again, Thiago can still catch up to Haaland. I wouldn't be surprised if it does end with Thiago right next to him. Maybe like a goal off, if not tying with Haaland, because Haaland has been struggling a little bit. Granted, I know he scored, but still, he hasn't been himself as lately, but if they still go on that tear, maybe he starts scoring some more goals. And now that I say, I'm sure his next match he'll probably score a hat trick. I wouldn't be surprised. It's not the Premier League, right? This is the Premier League. I'm not sure if that's what I may have missed your comment for the most part. Chelsea have a harder run, and then Liverpool. I don't know why they're confident in qualifying for Europe. I think we're qualifying for Europe just because of the point situation for the most part. Not that we're that many points ahead of you guys or anything, because it is pretty close. It's only 2 points off. But I do think, like I said, we're going to win a handful of matches. And like I said, I think that's just going to build that buffer. I do think, again, Liverpool are going to drop a few points. Even if they have an easier schedule, I still don't think, again, they're going to drop some points for the most part, because I think with the matches that they have coming up, Champions League as well, FA Cup, they just don't have the depth this year. I think that's going to be part of their issue for the most part. And so, like I said, I could see them struggling and, again, dropping points in the league itself. But, yeah. That being said, though, Arsenal, like I said, I think Arsenal will still do semi-decent. The one thing, I know I made a video about it, though, too, is looking at the top scorers right now, it's kind of ridiculous when you think about the first guy that pops up for Arsenal in the top goal scoring is Gyökeres, who's sitting at 8 goals right now. And that, again, I think if Arsenal do not win the Premier League this season, that will be the big talking point for the most part. Because, like I said, if you're going to try to win the Premier League, you need to have a guy that's scoring out and out for you. The fact that Gyökeres only has 8 as their starting striker, that's where it gets very, very difficult for Arsenal to win. Now, granted, I understand they've had other players scoring for them, but think about this. Cole Palmer, who's been out for pretty much a good chunk of the season, is also sitting at 8. And yes, I understand Cole Palmer takes penalty spot kicks and everything, but the fact that our attacking midfielder also has 8 goals and has missed so many games, and Gyökeres only has 8, and he's playing for Arsenal, you would expect him to have so many more goals, and I think that's been the issue for Arsenal, because had they have scored a few more goals this season in bigger matches where they draw points, I think, again, they would have just been clear favorites this time of the season right now, and they wouldn't even have to worry about bottling because they haven't been scoring those goals. That's where it gets really difficult for them, because they've won a lot of games 1-0, 2-0, like that. And like I said, if they were just blowing teams out and just having that buffer for all those games, they would have been so much different. And I'm even just looking now too, because he's sitting at 8 goals. Their next guy, which again, you would expect someone else to be there, and if I'm not mistaken, Zubimendi is their next guy. That can't be right. if Zubamendi is their next goal scoring person, that is a big issue for him. And I think that is right. He's sitting at 5 goals. So you have Gyökeres as your first goal scorer, top goal scorer with 8 goals. Then you have Zubamendi at 5 goals. Like, that is a big, big problem. He's your CDM. How is your CDM having the second most goals for you? You would expect, like, again, your other players to be scoring goals. Not that, again, Declan Rice is that guy's going to be scoring a lot of goals for you, but possibly he could be scoring goals. You would think maybe Noni Madueke. You would think Saka. Yes, I understand Saka's been out for a little bit, but even Trossard on that left side, you would think some of these guys would be scoring more goals. But unless I missed a guy, but I'm just looking over it again, and that is quite shocking because that is probably the biggest issue for Arsenal for the most part. Rosinho sacked at Hull. Yeah, I mean, Rosinho got sacked at Hull, or I mean, he went on his ways, but he just beat them, so I'm not too worried about that. Arsenal need Zubamendi and Rice properly because that Mourinho injury is bad for their DM depth. Yeah, and again, that's I think the problem too is they have been picking up some injuries as of lately. And again, you can't make the complaint that Arsenal are dealing with injuries. Every club is dealing with injuries. Every club always deals with injuries. It just, again, depends on when you pick up some of those injuries. And yes, more injuries are vital to some teams, like Saka being out injured for these last handful of matches. But that being said, you still have to play with who you have. Because if you look at City of missing Guardiola, and again, he's a massive part in that defensive role. Ruben Diaz has been out for quite a bit as well. And you're just thinking about some of the other players they've been lacking. Rodri hasn't been the same player since his injury from last season. And therefore, like I said, you can't just blame injuries for you dropping points. False. Van Persie scored 30 goals for Arsenal, and they barely got 4th. Stop with the narrative. Yeah, that's because Arsenal couldn't defend it all that season. They literally got... Their defense was absolutely a leaky bucket that season. And if it wasn't for Van Persie, they would not have finished anywhere near the top 4. So yes, you can have a guy scoring 30 goals, but if you look at the defense that season, they literally could not do anything to stop anyone. Teams just came down and scored all the time on them. They tried attacking for the most part, but that's why Van Persie, in my humble opinion, left Arsenal, because they didn't have an all-around team. It was literally give the ball to Van Persie. Hopefully Van Persie can score a goal, and usually he did. But when he went to United, you just saw how much it clicked quickly with them. Won the Premier League right away. They had a defensive back line that he could actually utilize or they could trust in. And like I said, because they had the rock-solid defense, they had him up top scoring goals. They won with Sir Alex Ferguson's one of his last years as a manager. So, but yeah, that was embarrassing for Saka. Yeah, Saka, again, if you're looking at Saka, I think, what is it? He's had 4 goals in over a year from non-penalty spot kicks, which again, if you look at Florian Wirtz has hit the same amount of goals, if I'm not mistaken. I think I saw that, and I could be misquoting it just a little bit, but Saka really has been struggling. It's a shame because, again, he's a good player, but I feel like he's just been hit with a lot of injuries as of lately, and that is part of the issue. And he's been playing for so many seasons. Again, he is still young, but he started off so young that some of these injuries are, again, adding up to what's happening to this player, and therefore, like I said, it's kind of sad to see, and it does happen to players a lot. I think it happens more to younger English players because they get thrown into the mix right away, and then they're just expected to play each and every game, and they just get drilled into so many matches, and then eventually the legs just start going on them. Salah has more goals and assists than Saka. Well, yeah, of course, Salah has more. He's been playing a lot more this season. I would hope that's not much of a break if you think Salah should be over Saka. Palmer more goals and assists than both. Yeah. Again, Palmer's been doing quite well despite being also out for quite a bit for the most part. Yeah, but he's also missing, who up top. Who are we talking about? Who's missing who up top? If we're talking about Salah, if he's missing Isak, I mean, I guess you could make the argument that Isak, I think, would do okay, but Ekitike's definitely done quite well this season for Liverpool. So I wouldn't say missing Isak for this season is going to be the all that ends well for them because, like I said, Salah was at AFCON for ages. Oh, yeah, that's right. He was at that. But, yeah, so what did he miss, like 5-6 games? No, he probably missed like 7 games, probably. But he still didn't miss that many games. If you're comparing to Saka, who's been out injured, and Cole Palmer's also been out injured, they probably played roughly the same amount of matches. And I think Salah has just not been playing that well this season. Goals and assists don't tell the story when talking about balance and analysis. Too many casuals in the chat. Yeah, I agree as well because There's so many times when a guy will play a ball perfectly to a player. Like, again, I'm just going to use the Chelsea analysis here just because I watch Chelsea. But Pedro Neto played a lovely ball into Liam Delap. Liam Delap spun the defender, ran towards goal, and then laid the ball off to Esteval. Esteval scores, so he gets the goal. Liam Delap gets the assist because he laid it off. But Pedro Neto, who played a ball over the top that really did break the entire line, gets absolutely no credit. Besides, again, fans looking back and be like, yeah, that was a great pass. But on the stats, it means absolutely nothing. And there's so many times, if you go back and watch Eden Hazard as well, the man just absolutely just dribbled through so many defenses, would play a ball off to, say, Cesc Fabregas. Cesc Fabregas plays the ball off to Diego Costa. Diego Costa scores. Hazard gets absolutely no credit once again, but if you watch and go back and watch some of those games, there's so many different things that happen throughout the match that, again, can help a team win a game. It's just not the goals and assists. So many different things have to go correctly before getting to that goal or the assist itself. So like I said, you can't just go off one thing or two things for the most part. Predictions for first. Yeah, this is for predictions. So we're predicting that City are going to win the league at the end of this season. I do think, again, it's City's run that's going to really just go over and everything. And we were just talking about how Arsenal really have been struggling with their lack of goal scorers, which I'm probably going to make a video about that tomorrow. I feel like I make a lot of Arsenal videos, but Arsenal just make it so easy to make videos. Again, it's just so easy to find a pinpoint and just make something of it. Cole Palmer nursing a groin injury, doesn't get a surgery because he doesn't want to miss the World Cup. Yeah, that's the problem, John. Again, I understand for Cole Palmer. We had the Club World Cup this past summer too, and it's a shame because most players now are going to be constantly playing, and they're going to have to just pick and choose when they're going to miss a match because we had the Euros and then Club World Cup. And again, I'm saying in between all these things going on, and therefore, again, these players play so many matches. It's difficult for them to really have any time to rest up, and maybe he has surgery after the World Cup. But then if you think for a Chelsea fan, that means we'll have Cole Palmer for probably the first half of the season. Or again, groin injury is always difficult because when you have a groin injury, even having surgery, you may not be fully fit. Case in point, Mason Mount. He also had a groin injury, went to United because I think Chelsea understood that the issue that he was having just wasn't fully healing. And he's played, a string of maybe like 3 or 4 matches together because he plays a few matches and then gets hurt, plays a few matches and gets hurt. It's just because, again, he's not fully healing up. And every time he's trying to play, he's just trying to go at it as fast as he possibly can. And like I said, he just keeps picking up injuries, which is a shame because he's a good player. Despite him going to United, I still like Mason Mount. I wish he wasn't picking up injuries because he is fun to watch for the most part. City could go unbeaten the rest of the season. 3 draws, and Arsenal could lose 1, draw 3, and still win. Yeah, they could, but again, I think they're going to lose. I think Arsenal are going to lose at least 2 more matches this season, and I also think they're going to draw a few more matches. Bruno PFA. Bruno. Could he be the PFA? I'm just trying to think of other players as of right now. I do think, here's my analogy on this. If Arsenal win it, it's going to be Declan Rice. And I'm also going to say Declan Rice should probably win it this season, even if Arsenal don't win the Premier League this season, just because Declan Rice has been so good in the midfield. And that's just what we were talking about before. The fact that he's not having all these goals and assists, he's still a guy that's been so immense in that midfield for Arsenal. And I think he's going to be part of the reason if they win it. He's going to be the reason why. But if I'm also thinking about if City win it, it almost has to be Haaland then, because Haaland's going to have the golden boot. More likely not is probably going to get it then. But Bruno, in my opinion, is probably top 3. I would say top 3, but I don't think he wins it just because if United finish here, it's hard to give it to a guy with a team that finishes out with the top 4. And therefore, like I said, I think any of these other players could definitely have some credit for deserving. I could even see David Araya winning it. The man's been playing pretty good this season. I don't know how many clean sheets he finally has right now. If he's at 12 or 13 this season, he's had so many. So again, I could see him also getting something. Rice has been average. People just picking him because he's no one else to pick from the Arsenal squad. Pablo, yes, I agree with that. And part of that is I think Zubimendi also has been very, very good. I think Zubimendi doesn't get enough credit. But that being said, I think Zubimendi being a CDM, it's hard to always look at him and just see how good of a player he has been. But I do think because of Zubimendi, it allows Rice to actually go forward more and be more attack mindset. But if you watch Declan Rice, he's still all over the pitch. He makes so many crucial tackles. He's still a good player. And like I said, he's not scoring the goals. He's not picking the assists, but he's still doing so much for them in the midfield. But Zubimendi's also been pretty good. Zubimendi is better, changed Arsenal this season. Yeah, I agree. I think Zubimendi was a step up for them in the CDM position. I think he scored some crucial goals for them, and we were just talking about before that the fact that Zubimendi is their second top goal scorer just still, that doesn't seem right. I still don't understand how that's even possible with all the other players. I would have thought like Big Gabby or someone else would have also been up there, but that is the case as of right now what I'm looking at. The other thing I wanted to look at was the top assists. Yeah, so Bruno is sitting on 12 assists, since you were asking about Bruno for the most part. Salah is fundamentally horrendous. What sport are you watching? Goals, assist merchant. Zubimendi also stinks it up in big games, though. I mean, it's hard. I think the team itself sometimes, I mean, he did have that mishap. What game was that where he played the ball back and it led to a goal? But Big Gabby also did that too. I feel like it does happen to players, and a lot of people are just going to remember those key factors. But I think even in that game, he had the issue. I think Arsenal still won that game for the most part. Liverpool 7th, yes, Mickey, they are going to be finishing 7th, and Everton are going to be right there with them. I think if Everton were to finish above Liverpool, that would just be ridiculous. I can't remember the last time that's even happened. It's probably been decades. So again, they're going to be getting kind of close, which I think David Moyes could be in contention to be manager of the season if he gets them around this position. If he gets any type of European qualification for Everton, that really should speak volume for how good of a season he's done with his job. This John Doe has negative ball now. We try not to be too negative here, but it does happen for the most part. Will not happen, Mickey. It could happen. And then again, these are predictions for the most part. It's not like I'm a future teller or I didn't just jump in and see what will happen. Isak comes back in April, right before they play Chelsea, United, and Villa. So that's a boost for them. Yeah, but even if Isak comes right back before that, you got to assume he's not going to be fully match fit. So and again, this happens to any injury that happens with players. They come back in, they're probably going to play a little bit, so maybe he plays 30 minutes, maybe he doesn't even play at all against the Chelsea match. I can't assume, if they're thinking, again, future-wise, there's no point to rush Isak back unless they're really close to pushing for top 5 or Ekitike is having issues, because if they have Ekitike, it makes more sense to keep utilizing him. I think, like I said, you don't want to push Isak back from a big injury like he just had. Help him kind of develop back into it, and then next season you start him off, start playing a lot more, because like I said, if he picks up another injury, that's massive for Liverpool. That's 2 big injuries for him. Again, this is just all speculations that could happen. I'm only at 20%, by the way, so my phone may turn off on me at some point during this live, and I do apologize. But if he comes back, picks up an injury, again, it's just going to be massively a downgrade for them for the most part. If Luis Figo was playing today, you would say Salah is better because of goals and assists. Oh. Luis Figo, again, was such a good player to watch. And he's one of the only players I feel like could play for Barcelona and Real Madrid. I think Barcelona players or fans don't like him as much, but the fact that he played for both, I think he's done quite well for his career. And obviously for Portugal, but again, he was a pretty good player. Arsenal, I missed what you said there about Arsenal, but anyways, let me take a sip here. But yeah, looking at the assist here for the most part. And thank you guys for the follows and everything and all the hearts and the gifts and stuff like that. Thank you guys, by the way. Just looking at the assists, the fact that Erling Haaland is also sitting in 3rd position with 6 assists, yeah, I have a feeling he's most likely going to win the PFA, just because even if City don't win it now that I'm thinking about it, he's kind of close in contentions with, again, being in the top 3 for the assists. Obviously, he's leading the goals right now for City, and I have a feeling he's going to score a lot more. I wouldn't be surprised if Haaland doesn't end on 30 goals once again, which, again, still breaks my brain how this guy is going to just absolutely smash so many records in the Premier League. Granted, if he sticks around for his entire contract at City, I think he could be in touching distance of Alan Shearer's goal record before he hits 30, which, again, I don't understand how it's even possible, but the fact that the guy is just doing so well in the Premier League, again, is just ridiculous for the most part. The guy's an absolute robot. He thinks he doesn't do something Salah, then crazy things 8 seasons in a row. Yeah, I mean, not to discredit Mohamed Salah, he's obviously been a crucial and great player for Liverpool. He's done quite well, but he's definitely taken a downgrade for what he's done this season for the most part. And because of that, I think that's going to hinder what people think of Mohamed Salah, because there's been times that he could play the ball and just do something different besides shooting it, and even his shooting has been off this season. And I'm not sure what happened between the beginning of this season to the end of this season, because again, he scored in the first game and he did quite well in the first handful of matches, but then something just took a turn for the worse for Salah. And again, he just wasn't scoring goals, wasn't picking up assists, and I think him going to AFCON was actually better for Liverpool because it allowed them to use Florian Wirtz a little bit better, allowed them to use different players, and now that he's back, you almost have to jam him back into your starting 11. Granted, I think there's sometimes maybe you shouldn't start him, and I know there was some media issues with that before he went to AFCON, but still, I think they looked pretty good without him, and they should be okay after he leaves. It's Virgil van Dijk and Konate that they'll have to worry about finishing. I can't speak. Filling in those gaps in the back line will be quite difficult for the most part. Brentford, yes, Mr. Gene. We have Brentford up in finishing in the top 6. I think they will qualify for Europa in this upcoming season into next season. I think, again, Brentford getting a massive boost, which I do feel kind of bad for Thomas Frank, because Thomas Frank definitely helped build this team up. And the fact that the first season he goes to Tottenham, just absolutely terrible season for them, for both Thomas Frank and Tottenham. But then Brentford go on and actually do so much. But I think part of it is just because of Thiago. I don't think he got enough playing time under Thomas Frank. And again, part of that reason is because they have Visa. They also have Mbomo. So again, there's players that were ahead of him, so he didn't get to play as much. The fact that he got to play so much this season just shows how good of a player he is. And obviously, he stepped into that role because Brentford lost quite a few players. They lost Flecken, they lost Nodgaard, and then the two other players I just mentioned, along with Thomas Frank. So the fact that they're doing this well is quite remarkable, to say the least, because I don't think anyone thought Brentford was going to be this high up. I definitely didn't. I thought they were going to be in relegation battle. Granted, I thought they were going to stay up, but still, I thought for sure that they were going to be a lot lower in the table for the most part. Pep staying or leaving City at the end of the season. I think Pep will most likely be leaving at the end of the season. Thiago had a big injury last season, hence why he didn't play last season. Oh, I didn't realize he had an injury. I thought because, again, Mbomo and Visa playing all the time, I thought those two guys were up top, and just Thiago could only get rotated in every so often. But if that's the case, that makes more sense. And he's still a young player. I think he's, 24, 25. So there's still plenty of room for him to develop more and be a better player. But yeah, Pep, I think, again, this is the last season for him. I'm assuming Pep's probably going to take a hiatus, take a year off. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes and does some international type of duty after this, unless possibly he goes back to Barcelona, but I don't think he's going to go back to Barcelona, and I don't think he's going to go back to Bayern or any of the other teams. I think, again, he leaves the Premier League for what he's done. He's pretty much won everything he can possibly win. He's done everything. He's won, 4 in a row? And like I said, there's not much anything else he can do at City. And so whether he goes into another league, maybe he goes to the French league, I would be surprised by that. But like I said, I think he goes international duty after this. I'm not sure where he's going to go. It would make sense if he maybe went to Spain, but we'll see what happens for the most part. But yeah, I'm a United fan, but low fundamental player. I'm not sure who's a low fundamental player for United that we're talking about. How can the highest scorer in the Prem history be poor fundamentally? You got to be Bate. Are we talking about Alan Shearer? Is that what we're talking about right now? If we're talking about Alan Shearer is he's one of the best strikers to ever play in the game. And he also has goals before the Premier League actually started. So his record technically isn't even accurate because he was playing before the Premier League was even started. And he was also riddled with injuries because had he been fully fit throughout his entire career, which again is always difficult to stay fully fit, but Alan Shearer, I'm not disrespecting him at all. He's such a good player. But like I said, I think Haaland is going to pass him up. If Haaland stays in the Premier League, he can easily pass him up for the most part. Oh, he's on about Salah. Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Alan Shearer. I mean, no disrespect to Alan Shearer. The guy's such a good player. But yeah, let me go back to the table here real quick because I'm kind of curious. And actually, now that I think about it, I should probably check this other spot I've been actually streaming on because I have no idea if anyone was actually asking me questions in there. Give me 1 second. I'm going to move my phone here, but it should be fine. I don't think it's going to mess anything up here. Let me go to the YouTube studios here because, like I said, I think I can see what's going on here. Yeah, maybe it's not working. I'm not too sure. Maybe I'm not even clicked in for the most part. That would be kind of comical. Let me go here. It's saying I'm there, though. I'm not too sure. As a Chelsea fan, United aren't going to drop that much points, not going to lie. I think they are. I think, again, they could drop quite a few points yet this season. And it's so up in the air as of right now what could even happen for the rest of the season because, like I said, I think Michael Carrick has definitely got them playing very, very well. But it's still, at any point, it could just go south very quickly for them. And granted, I think that they will win most of their games for the rest of the season, but I still think that we'll see what happens. Dan, who do you support? I support Chelsea, so I'm a Chelsea fan. Michael Carrick got found out against West Ham that Nuno low block did a job on them. I mean, a low block's always difficult to break down, especially for any team that's very good at defending wise. And I do think, again, you have to give credit to West Ham. They've been playing very, very well as of lately. And so because of that, I think a lot of people were just assuming, oh, they're in relegation. This should be an easy win for them. But the fact is, if you look at what West Ham have done in the last 5 matches, they've been playing very good. They've been playing way better than what they should be at right now in that relegation, which, again, I think they still get out of the relegation battle. It will be difficult for them, but I still think they can go on to win a lot more games yet this season. And like I said earlier, I think Tottenham and Nottingham Forest are really should be worried for the rest of the season. The fact that Tottenham's only 5 points above West Ham, and then obviously Nottingham Forest is only 3 points ahead of them, and Nottingham Forest have a difficult time at the end of this season, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's Nottingham Forest and Tottenham just barely skate by. You think Chelsea are a better team than Liverpool? Yes, I do think they're a better team than that. They're above them in the table, and I think, like I said, they just are a better team overall this season. Now, last season, obviously Liverpool were better, but I think a lot of their players have kind of aged out a little bit. And therefore, like I said, I think Chelsea are the better team. Villa won't get 5th. They'll prioritize Europa over Prem, and their midfield injuries are bad. I mean, that is possible that they could, again, start slipping a little bit more, but I got to assume they can still do quite well. They just got knocked out of the FA Cup, so therefore they don't have to worry about that match anymore, so they get a little bit extra rest with the rest of the season, which could actually help them out. Sometimes it's kind of a good thing. Again, I don't think any team ever wants to get knocked out of the FA Cup, but sometimes it's a good thing when you have injuries to get knocked out of it at this point because now, like I said, you get some of those little breaks throughout the week. You only have to try to, again, throw another team out there and overplay some of your players. So like I said, for Emery, that could actually help him out for the most part. But yeah, that's what we're saying there. What was that one? Share. Yeah, what... Okay. In what area are Chelsea better than Liverpool? I mean, I can go over all of them if you want me to. They're better, I think, again, attacking-wise. João Pedro, I'll take over Ekitike all day long for the most part. Their wingers this season are way better. CDM-wise, Caicedo is way better. Their defense, I think, is better than this year. I think Reece James is arguably one of the best right backs. Cucurella is obviously one of the best left backs. So, again, just those two pairings by themselves is better. Goalkeeper-wise, Alisson has not been good this season. I think Sanchez has been better this season. Pretty much the only player I would put over anyone right now is probably Florian Wirtz. Is the only guy I would maybe throw into the Chelsea side. Otherwise, I wouldn't throw anyone else. Cody Gakpo? No. You're not going to throw him over anyone in this team. Luis Diaz is the reason why they've been struggling because he left last season. If Luis Diaz was still at Liverpool, they'd be playing so much better this season. Oh, I take that back. Szoboszlai as well. Szoboszlai could also probably play in that midfield, but at the same time, I still think I'd take Enzo Fernandez over Szoboszlai. I think I'd go with, again, Caicedo, Szoboszlai, Cole Palmer. You do that 3 pairing, I'm not going to take any of those guys out. But like I said, I could possibly throw Florian Wirtz out on the right side, but João Pedro down the middle, again, is just any day long. João Pedro hasn't been great at all this season. I'm not sure if you've been watching him play as of lately, but we'll see. McAllister has not been playing good this season. Overall, he's a good player, but again, you're thinking about how they've been playing the last season. This season, none of those guys have been playing that good for the most part. They've been struggling. Enzo over Szoboszlai is crazy. Not really. If you've watched Enzo play throughout this entire season, I understand Szoboszlai has been playing good in that midfield. Obviously, free kick specialist, but otherwise, Enzo's been such a great player for Chelsea this year. I think, again, both guys are very good, and it's a preference to me. I watch Enzo all the time. Maybe if I watch Szoboszlai play more, I probably would pick him, but it's not like both these players, like Szoboszlai's here and Enzo's here, or vice versa. They're pretty much right here for the most part, and that's what I'm saying. I could see Szoboszlai making it into the team for the most part, but otherwise, like I said, I don't think anyone else. Again, Mohamed Salah hasn't been playing good this season. Years prior, yes, he would have easily came into this Chelsea side, no doubt about it. But this year, I would take Estevao over Salah. at any point at this point. Liverpool, let's see here. Liverpool microwave Klopp system, and the entire league was, yeah, last season, so they won't win. Yeah, again, bro, Szoboszlai has been Liverpool's best player this year. He has been. And again, I'm not discrediting Szoboszlai. Like I said, he's probably, again, one of the best players in the league itself. But like I said, if you watch Enzo play, again, they're very similar players, yet slightly different for the most part. Guys, he's lying to make you comment more. No, I'm not, Dan. Again, there's no one. Virgil van Dijk, same thing, has not been the player he has been this season. He's been pretty much caught multiple times this season. And like I said, it's because of that, the rest of the team has been looking good. And it's hard to say if the reason why he's been getting caught out is because McAllister has been playing as well. Because when your CDM isn't playing good, then your CBs have to struggle more because they have to then step up or drop back. And like I said, every time we've seen VVD drop back, Virgil van Dijk, that's when the guys keep dropping back and then they get scored on for the most part. And it's because McAllister hasn't been winning those duels in the midfield. So again, it's not just one player that's been causing issues, it's multiple players causing issues. And like I said, we saw that with City last year too. Rodri got hurt, and like I said, multiple things started falling apart just because of one guy. And like I said, not that McAllister's a bad player, he's still a good player. Again, I'm saying he's a good player. He's having a bad season. Guys have bad seasons. It happens. It happens to a lot of players. I could see next year him coming back and being a great player again, but this year has not been McAllister's year. If you're looking at the rest of his career so far, this has probably been his worst year. So that's what I'm saying about it. Are you going to pass over saying that Sanchez greater than Alisson? Let's see here. Let me go and look at the clean sheets right now. Clean sheets, Premier League, and let me just see here. If I can pull that up for right now. Premier League, player stats and stats. Here we go. God, why are there so many pop-ups on? Oh my God, the Premier League just has so many pop-ups that pop up. I just want to see what's going on here. United top 3. So, okay, here we go. This is the goalkeeper clean sheets right now. Again, David Raya right now is at the top of the clean sheets. Then we have Donnarumma, which, again, he's been playing really good. Then Robert Sanchez. Robert Sanchez is number 3. Then it goes Pickford, Henderson, Robin Royce, then Alisson Becker. So, again, Becker is sitting a lot lower. He's in the 7th position right now. And overall, I think Sanchez is a very good goalkeeper. I might be slightly delusional being a Chelsea fan, but the guy has been playing pretty good this season. And like I said, he's been arguably a great goalkeeper this season. And you have to think about who Sanchez has in front of him and who Alisson has in front of him. Like I said, it's been a merry-go-round at Chelsea and their back line. It's just constantly spinning, whether it's Wesley Fofana, Trevor Chalobah, Achapong, Reece James. There's Tosin. Again, Tosin and Badiashile probably have been arguably our worst players. Anytime those guys play, it's just comical to see what's going to happen in our back line, and Sanchez has to deal with that. I would still take Van Dijk. Okay, yeah, I guess I would take Van Dijk over pretty much those two guys, but like I said, I would still take Wesley Fofana and Chalobah if they were fully starting each and every week, but they can't seem to stay fit, or again, we keep rotating players because our medical staff keeps telling our manager, hey, you need to rotate these players. You can't play them as much as we want to play them, which is why Reece James hasn't been playing as much too, though. But anyways, yeah. What about save percentages? One-on-one saves percentage. Clean sheets don't tell the whole story. All right, let's go. Let's look. Let's have a good old look this season on saves for the most part. Give me 1 second. Sanchez saves this season. Let's see. It says he has 33 saves. That doesn't sound right. I feel like he's got way more than that. 33 saves just does not sound right at all. Let me see if I go Robert Sanchez, goalkeeper here. If I could get my other app working, that would be great, but I can't. Rashford, low IQ, low effort. I'm good off him. I mean, Rashford's been playing pretty good at Barcelona this year. So, again, I think he's been a good player for the most part. Here we go. StatMuse. That's what we'll use. Robert Sanchez. Why can I not see all his goals conceded? Is 29. He's had, what's this? If someone could tell me, actually, that would be better for the most part, because I'm not seeing how many blocks he has, and which is kind of annoying. I can't see on my screen that I'm looking at, and I'm probably just missing it as I'm looking at all this. If I go here, maybe? Because I'm just looking for totals. but it's not giving me totals. No, that also doesn't give me totals. It just gives me ratings. He's got a 7.29 rating. I guess let's go off of that. 7.29 rating, and then let's go to Allison for the most part. 7.29. Let's remember that. 7.29. 7.29. And if we go to Allison, and Allison's ranking is a 6.54. So, again, it's going off of just the rankings themselves, too. Sanchez is having a better season. So, overall, Sanchez is the better goalkeeper of the season. And like I said, this isn't just, again, looking at their entire span of their career. This is looking at one season, one quick season snapshot. Sanchez has been better than Alisson this season, hands down. So that's what I'm going to say about that. I still think season Arsenal pulls through and wins it. I mean, it could happen. It could happen. But I still think, like I said, I think City are still, again, going to really be pushing and winning this season for the most part. And I think, like I said, it could be interesting to see how that game goes, but we'll see. So you're now using SofaScore ratings, right? No, actually I'm using StatMuse. I couldn't, SofaScore wasn't working, so StatMuse had that, and I want to say they're actually better at stats for the most part. And like I said, there's multiple factors showing that Robert Sanchez is better than Alisson this season. It's not just one thing; it's multiple things. The moment the Slot tried to play his football U-turn, he had no coincidence. Yeah, good luck. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I think, again, Slot's probably going to be done at the end of this season. I don't think he's going to stick around. I think, again, the board already looking at Xabi Alonso, which I think when Xavi comes here to Liverpool, I think, again, he's going to make a lot of these players look good. And then you're going to probably say, oh, I told you this guy was better. I'm like, yes. Again, this season has not been Liverpool's season. They've been playing poorly. They're more likely going to finish in Europa. And therefore, again, like I said, it's just been a bad season for them. I agree. Slot is terrible, but Carrick won't stay long. Sherman, you'll fall. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised too if Carrick, again, starts slipping a little bit. But overall, like I said, I think he's been doing quite well. The players definitely believe in him, and that's what you kind of need as a manager. Because if the players keep believing in what Carrick's been doing, they can win a lot more games yet. And the fact that there's only roughly 12 games left, therefore, again, they only need to win a handful more, and they will finish in the top 4, top 5. So again, it's one of those things that they can kind of do that. They don't have to win every game now. Which obviously, I don't think they're going to win 5 games at the end of this season. I think that's going to go for another full season for United Strand. So I'm not sure if he's going to keep his hair or not. We'll see what happens about that. You think that United could maybe? I think United could possibly, and I think they will for the most part. Underestimating LFC. I am Michael. I apologize. But yes, we are underestimating them most likely. We can come back at the end of the season. We'll see. Obviously, this video is here now. You guys can obviously check it out and come back to me. I'm more than happy because I'm going to make a video on my predictions at the beginning of the season because I clearly was wrong on some of them, but I was kind of right on some of them as well. But we're going to make a video on that later on at the end of the season for the most part. I think Aston Villa drop for Manchester United. It could happen. Slot equals Super Saiyan Ten Hag. I don't know if that's giving credit to Slot too much because I don't know if he could ever reach Super Saiyan. That's quite a bit. You kind of have to be a great guy to be able to do that. Not too many guys can go Super Saiyan. And I'm pretty sure, like I said, if we're debating here, Goku, Gohan, Goten, I mean, I think we know who the best player or warrior is for the most part, Goten. But, we're just going to stop there. United will go Champions League. Yeah, I think, again, they're going to push for Champions League. I do think, again, they do finish Champions League, which, again, is a massive turnaround for them with how the season went. But the big thing for them, though, too, is that they didn't have any type of European competition this year. So, again, it will be kind of interesting to see how that translates to next season because not having a lot of those matches, getting knocked out of the FA Cup so early on, too, they really only had one game per week. So, again, it gave them plenty of time to line up how to play those matches, what they needed to do for everything. So again, when you have an extra 5 days to again understand how your team is playing, it makes it so much easier to beat those teams for the most part. So there, like I said, next year with Champions League, obviously I think they're going to do a little bit better in the FA Cup. Could be interesting for them, but they could really struggle next season. If anything, LFC have taught people not to underestimate us. I guess. I mean, maybe. Klopp even finished outside the top 4 once. It's not like they haven't done that since even Klopp was there. It can happen. Another Arsenal hater. I mean, I'm a Chelsea fan, so I mean, we're most likely going to hate each other just a little bit. Obviously, I want to see City win it here for the most part, just so that Arsenal can't win it, because I don't think anyone wants to hear what Arsenal are going to say after that. Thank you for the follow, by the way. But yeah, Arsenal versus Chelsea, who wins it? Again, if I'm a betting man, Chelsea will lose it, or they will draw points. I don't think, again, Arsenal are going to lose to Chelsea, but they could maybe draw to them. Every time we play them in the last handful of seasons, I think the last 10 matches, we've drawn twice and lost the rest. We haven't beat them. And so, again, I wouldn't be surprised if we, again, lose to them once again. With the Chelsea fixtures, forget top 5. I mean, it could happen, but I think overall we're going to do quite well. I think, again, we've just been building on momentum for the most part. Arsenal won't beat Chelsea and Tottenham. If Arsenal somehow, and again, it is comical how Tottenham could be the team that actually make Arsenal drop 3 points. Like, if you think about any team that's playing so poorly, but yet at any point could make your team drop points, it's Tottenham. Tottenham could go and somehow beat Arsenal, and it could be a 1-0 win or 2-1 win, and it would just be ridiculous for that to happen, but I wouldn't be surprised if that did happen at some point. That Casemiro final roar at Stamford Hut, we will be there. We'll see. I mean, again, Casemiro's last game, that'll be kind of interesting to see. He's done quite well. I think, again, when you go back and look at his career at United, I think he's done a fairly decent job. Granted, not anywhere near what he did at Real Madrid, but he's a whole different player from when he was at Real Madrid to at United. Again, things didn't work out as well as I think he was hoping for, but overall, I think he had a pretty good career at United. He's done quite well. I take a draw, Arsenal versus Spurs. See, yeah, again, I wouldn't be surprised if Spurs draw against Arsenal too. It's a game that really Arsenal should get all 3 points, but I could see Arsenal somehow not getting all 3 points in that game. And again, I could also see them going and just absolutely smashing them, again, winning 5-0 or something. I can easily see that happening. I'm not saying that Arsenal are going to struggle, but if there's a team that somehow just shows up on a random given day on a random team, it's Tottenham. They somehow can just turn up one day and then absolutely not show up the next handful of matches. And being that it is Tottenham versus Arsenal, maybe with the London Derby, it makes a difference that maybe some of those players will play better. Who knows? But again, I think Arsenal probably do win that game, though. Chelsea need to buy a midfielder. I don't know if we need to buy a midfielder. I mean, we have Santos, we have Caicedo, we have, again, some of the other guys I think can do quite well. We need Lavia to actually be fully fit. That's our problem. If Roman Lavia could actually be a fit player and play at least 30 games, just 30 games, not even have to play a full season, we would be stacked in that midfield. That guy is such a good player. Watching when he can play for Chelsea, he's such a good player. But like I said, he's picking up so many injuries that we can only string like 2 or 3 games with him at a time. But like I said, because then we could rotate him with Caicedo, with Santos, with even Enzo for the most part. And like I said, I think even other players could even play in that position. We could always move up Reece James in that position. We've already seen it multiple times this season. And like I said, I think even Trevor Chalobah, if we really needed to, could play him into that midfield. Granted, we probably could still go for one more midfielder, but I think Santos moving forward is going to be one of the guys that definitely plays for us for the most part. Wingers, if we're talking about Chelsea, no, we don't need wingers. We got plenty of them. End up 6, definitely was all... Wait. Definitely was we all do because we were angry for no reason. I'm not sure what you're talking about, by the way. Said Rice would be in content. Can we rely on Spurs? No, we cannot rely on Spurs. Not at all. Trophyless Chelsea. Yeah, I mean, it might be trophyless season, but as of right now, we still won 2 trophies last season to this season. So again, I'd be more than happy if we can at least win 1 trophy, and I think we still will. I think the FA Cup is still in reach for Chelsea this season. I wouldn't be surprised, again, if we do win the FA Cup. I think that's one that we can go quite far. It all depends, though, on how the scheduling goes, because obviously we could then see Manchester City, we could see any other team, and it can be difficult, but I still think, again, we can go on and win the FA Cup. So, all right, guys, it's been fun. It's been real. I've been on here for quite some time. My phone's at like 3%, so I'm probably going to have my phone die anyway. So I will see you guys in the next live. We'll probably hop on in another day or two. So thank you guys all for the follows, all for the gifts. We'll see you next time.